Hi Libra, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your astrological report for the month of June 2022. There has been so much happening. It was a major eclipse season in the month of May, and the eclipses were in the Taurus-Scorpio axis, which are both the financial signs. And for you, the partial solar eclipse occurred at 10 degrees and 28 minutes of Taurus in your house of healing and loss, as well as debt and joint resources and financial partnerships. This was a new moon on steroids. The moon does love being in Taurus and it's in its exaltation. There are good aspects with that eclipse, but they are wild cards. There could be opportunities out of the blue. There could be shocking news out of the blue. And it was in your house of death and regeneration. And again, with Uranus bringing a lot of shocking events and news, but also a lot of information for all of us to process. The big eclipse was the total lunar eclipse on May 15th or May 16th, depending on where you live. And that was at 25 degrees and 18 minutes of Scorpio. And the south node was within 3 degrees, releasing that which is keeping you back in your house of income and money. But that was an eclipse of endings, squaring Saturn, the reality planet, and Saturn's transiting in your house of romance and creativity and self-expression. And that was one that did feel held back. But the good news is that there was a new moon on May 30th that officially ended the eclipse season. So that's positive. Mercury retrograded in the midst of the eclipses, and it initially retrograded in Gemini, in your house of hope and publicity and teaching and higher learning. It was at 4 degrees and 50 minutes of Gemini, and then it returned the sign of Taurus on May 22nd in your house of joint resources, death and regeneration, empowerment, and dealing with healing and transformation. And Mercury does station direct in the beginning of the month, but it's clashing with Saturn, the planet of limitations and restrictions. And Saturn stations retrograde on June 4th at 25 degrees and 15 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. Both are triggering where that heavy lunar eclipse occurred in Scorpio at 25 degrees and 18 minutes of the fixed water sign of Scorpio. Saturn squaring that point. How do we restructure going ahead with all that we've learned? Eclipses give us information. They want us to change. They want us to evolve our consciousness. And a lot gets uncovered during eclipse season, particularly with Uranus, the Great Awakener, in the first eclipse, and Mercury retrograding in its dignity in Gemini, telling many tales. And Saturn and Mercury is stationing direct in Taurus, opposing that lunar eclipse. And also, again, how can you heal your debt? How can you heal the loss? How can you empower yourself? There are a lot of points transiting in the Cardinal Fire sign of Aries. This is exciting for you because Jupiter, the Grand Benefic, entered the Cardinal Fire sign of Aries on May 10th, where it will transit until October 28th, expanding your relationships, bringing good fortune and good luck in that sector of your life. And it's a new 12-year cycle of good luck. If you are single, excellent for meeting new people and opening doors in many different ways, socially, romantically, and professionally for everyone. It's bringing many different opportunities, and you are the relationship sign. Mars, the god of war, but also the planet of action and passion, also entered the Cardinal Fire sign of Aries on May 24th, where it will transit until July 5th, bringing a new 2-year cycle of action and activity in your relationship sector. So you're very busy socially and connecting with others in many different ways. And there are also a lot of planets in Taurus, Venus, love and money, which rules your sign, but also rules the sign of Taurus. Uranus, the great awakener, the north node of karma, and Mercury, the planet of information, are all transiting in your house of transformation and empowerment and financial partnerships. So really focusing on your finances and healing that area as well. On June 3rd, Mercury stations direct at 4 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 26 degrees and 5 minutes of the fixed Earth sign of Taurus. And now Mercury is direct. That's moving ahead in your house of money and healing and focusing in those areas of your life. On June 4th, Saturn, the planet of karma and responsibility, retrogrades at 5:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 25 degrees and 15 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius, triggering that eclipse, bringing a recalibration in the process, and emphasizing the characteristics. We feel the build-up 5 days before and 5 days after when an outer planet stations retrograde or direct. Saturn is limitations, accountability, integrity, and structure. So we feel that pressure initially as we begin the month, but it's about hard work. And again, this is a more lighthearted month and not as intense as May, so I can say that. On June 6th, there's a lovely aspect. The sun forms a helpful aspect to Chiron, the wounded healer, at 4:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, bringing light and levity to healing in your relationships. On June 10th, Mercury, the planet of communication, forms an excellent aspect to Pluto, the planet of empowerment and transformation. And this occurs at 5:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Excellent for doing research and feeling empowered in your thinking. On June 13th, Mercury changes signs and enters the mutable air sign of Gemini at 11:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it will transit until July 5th in your house of promotion and hope and optimism and travel and higher learning. This is excellent for promoting yourself, for tapping into optimism, doing manifesting work. If you're doing travel, having fun in your travel pursuits. And that's nice energy. It's a compatible fellow air sign. On June 14th, there is a full moon that takes place at 7:52 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees and 25 minutes of the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius in your house of news and information. You may get some news about something. It also could bring a culmination to a writing project or something. Maybe you've been taking some classes and you're graduating, or you're bringing fruition to something you've been working on. I don't think that's a heavy full moon, particularly in comparison to the total lunar eclipse in Scorpio last month, so that's not so bad. On June 16th, the sun forms a helpful aspect to Saturn at 3:13 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's a very stabilizing energy and good for feeling centered. The sun also squares Neptune, the planet of dreams and imagination, and that can be cloudy. That occurs at 9:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That could be good for creative thinking and good for getting rest for you and doing manifesting work as well. On June 20th, Mercury, the planet of communication, thoughts, and ideas, forms a helpful aspect to Jupiter, the luckiest planet. And that occurs at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Good for relationship opportunities for you, good for going on a date, good for manifesting, good for feeling really hopeful. On June 21st, we have the solstice. So in the northern hemisphere, It's when the sun is at the maximum declination above the celestial equator, marking the beginning of summer. And in the southern hemisphere, it's the sun is at the lowest declination, commencing the winter season. And the sun stops still for approximately 3 days. Sol means the sun in Latin, can't even enunciate Latin. And sistere means to stop. And the sun stops still, and it's a time to reflect on the season ahead. And the sun enters Cancer at 5:14 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, transiting in your house of career and life goals, where it will be until July 22nd, lighting up that area of your life. And on the day of the solstice, Venus, which rules your sign, forms a beautiful trine to Pluto, the planet of transformation. And that occurs at 4:23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, showing there's power through love and beauty. And that's a beautiful aspect. So I think that's a really nice energy. And there are, there's a lot of emphasis on hope and optimism. I cast the chart for Washington, D.C. The chart is Gemini rising with Mercury as the ruler of the chart in its dignity in Gemini, in the house of spirituality and dreams. The moon is in Aries, conjunct Jupiter, the luckiest planet, in the house of community, expanding through courage with your tribe and with community, building community. There's a lot of emphasis on the planets in Taurus in the house of spirituality and dreams. Venus, the planet of love and money, is in its domicile in Taurus, conjunct the north node of karma, coming from love. Uranus, the great awakener, is conjunct the north node of karma, waking us up to selfless love. So that's a good thing, and I love the Venus-Pluto trine. On June 22nd, Venus changes signs and enters the mutable air sign of Gemini at 8:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it will transit until July 17th in your house of manifesting and hope, as well as promotion and publicity and travel. Excellent for taking a trip, excellent for promoting yourself in many different ways, because this is a time for you to be very creative. Saturn is transiting in your house of creative self-expression until March 7th of next year, anchoring your efforts at finding some creativity and love in a difficult time. And on June 25th, Jupiter aspects the north node of karma, bringing fated opportunities and connections, could bring great relationship opportunities for you. And then on June 27th, Mars forms a helpful aspect to Saturn, the planet of structure and stability, anchoring your hard work. And that occurs at 6:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. June 28th is a big deal. We have another outer planet stationing. Neptune stations retrograde at 3:54 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 25 degrees and 23 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces in your house of work and health and daily routine. You feel the buildup 5 days before and 5 days after. How do you find creativity in your work? How do you take care of yourself when you might be working a lot and ensure that you're, taking care of your health? And there could be information uncovered with that. People could be feeling very dreamy and a bit emotional with the Neptune station. But it's also the day of a new moon, which is always a time for setting intentions. The sun squares Jupiter at 8:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, bringing optimism and expansion. The new moon occurs at 10:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 7 degrees and 23 minutes of the cardinal water sign of Cancer in your house of career and life goals. New beginnings in your achievement and in what you want to accomplish. Plant new seeds, set intentions, do the law of abundance to magnetize opportunities. The moon loves being in Cancer, and it rules the sign of Cancer. And Venus and Jupiter, which are the two benefics, are in harmony and form a beautiful aspect at 11:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, showing the expansiveness and the love and beauty inherent in the new moon. I wish you a lot of luck, Libra, and thank you very much.